Have you ever felt nervous or anxious when you have to give a talk or you have to speak in a meeting? Or maybe you just want to avoid it every single time? Well, you are not alone. What if I told you that there are patterns to this anxiety, and by understanding them, you'll be able to overcome them? You see, after working with countless individuals, I've noticed that there are 8 stages for public speaking anxiety. And in this video, we're going to go through each stage and dive in so that you can understand what's going on. My name is Kit Pang. By the way, I'm the founder of Boston Speaks. And here's the thing. If you want to overcome public speaking anxiety, the first step is to really understand it. So if you're ready to take control of your public speaking anxiety, let's get started. Oh, and by the way, in the description below, I'm going to include a link to a full in-depth blog and article about exactly what we will be talking about. Stage 1, the initial shock. This is when you find out that you have to speak. Think of this as when you first receive the news on email, someone's telling you about it. Somehow you find out someone asks you to speak and you're like, holy crap. Like your head goes back, on the inside, you're like, oh, you're kind of dreading it already. So what's actually happening when we are here? You see, it could be when someone asks you, you see in an email, but the first thing in our mind, subconsciously, we go, oh my God, I have to do this thing that I dread again. I'm gonna be nervous again. It's not gonna turn out good again. And because we find out that we have to speak because of our past experiences, we really, really quickly go back and say, oh man, I have to do this again. Now, maybe you are in a position at work where you have to do this on a bi-weekly basis and you already start dreading it. So when we find out that we have to speak, the thing is, we have this quick anxiety moment because we don't want something to happen later. So let me explain what I mean, okay? So if you have a fear of flying, and if you find out you have to fly, you're like, holy crap, oh man, I don't want to get on the plane, but man, I think I have to, but I don't want to get there. So if people knew that flying was safe, the takeoff was safe, turbulence it didn't bother them, and the landing was safe too, then the person would probably enjoy the flight and would not have the initial anxiety or nervousness. The only reason right now when we hear that we have to speak, we're like, holy crap, is because later on we don't want the nerves again, or we don't want something bad to happen again. It could be, when I say bad, it could be mind going blank, your voice trembling, XYZ. So let me give you some action steps that you can do right now when you are reflecting on this, on the initial part. So number 1, you want to first write down your initial reactions. Of course, not in the moment, but after, like right now when you're watching this video, when you have time to reflect on it, because the first step is really just to gain clarity on what the heck is going on in my mind when I first find out I have to speak. How am I reacting to it? So here's some questions that you can ask yourself. When was the last time that when I heard that I have to speak, what was going through my mind? How was I feeling? And why did I think this way? And why did I feel this way? That's it. Take these 3 questions and just answer them really quickly, because you want to first gain awareness of really what's going on when you first hear that you have to speak. Stage number 2 is what I call worry land. You step into worry land because the months, the weeks, the days leading up to the speaking event, randomly you start thinking about the things that might be going wrong, or you start dreading it. So when I say random events, it could be you're driving in your car, you're walking your dog, you're washing the dishes. Usually it's when we have downtime and we're in front of the computer and we are just alone with our thoughts, and we're like, oh man, it's so the spike of anxiety, it goes up and down, up and down, up and down. One client told me he's watching Netflix. He's not even watching Netflix. He's just like thinking about, oh man, I have this presentation. Like, I'm just dreading it. Okay. So usually in these moments, the weeks, the months, the days leading up to it, 2 things tend to happen. You either over-prepare because you're so worried about what's going to be happening, you want to make everything perfect, or you procrastinate because you have this anxiety, you want to leave things till last minute because out of sight, out of mind, right? So when you over-prepare, here are the things that you need to watch out for. Spending too much time preparing that is done too much, and you know that it's like, okay, I practiced 15 times already. Man, I just want this to be perfect. I can't have anything go wrong. I'm going to practice 10 more times. So there's a point where you already know that you're spending way too much time on this. And right now, it's like your dog forgot about you, your friend, your spouse, your significant other, right? forgot about you. You're just spending time dwelling on this over and over because you want everything to be so perfect. One of the best things that you can do is say, hey, I am going to spend X amount of hours and X amount of times practicing this. I'm going to spend 5 hours writing this and writing that. And after that, I'm done. I'm going to leave this alone. Because one of the things is most of the time, we just go over it in our heads. I just need to do this again. I need to do this again. The first thing that you can do is write out, I'm going to spend 5 hours on this, 2 hours on this. And after the hours are done, put it away, go take a walk. That's one of the first steps that you can do, okay? Second, most people, when they over-prepare, they want to memorize everything they're going to say, okay? They practice it so good that they don't leave room for error. When we memorize everything that we want to say, here's what happens when we actually get to the speaking event. Have you ever felt like this? You're saying something, but it didn't really match what you were really planning. And so therefore, because you said something in the event and it didn't match what you planned to say, it throws you off. Now, when it comes to memorizing each word, what you have to know, it's the overall message that people get from your words. So think about it this way. If you are reading a book, are you going to remember every single word that the author used in the book? What do you care about? You care about the overall message of the book, and then you care about the overall message of each chapter, and then maybe you'll nitpick every single word. So if you are thinking right now, oh my God, if I miss this word, then my talk, what I have to say, it's going to go down the hill. No. People remember the main message at the end of the day. You can think about it this way. If you ever watched a great TED Talk, how many sentences do you actually remember from that TED Talk? Or maybe a podcast or a YouTube video that you listen to. How many sentences verbatim can you repeat back? Usually it's very, very low, okay? And if you over-prepare, here's what usually happens. We tend to overthink. The more we prepare, the more we think about it. The more we prepare, the more we think about it. And then we just go into a cycle. And then being over-prepared, it means we're being too rigid. We're not letting, and I talked a little bit about this earlier, we are not letting room for the experience to happen when we go talk. It's like we want to control everything so much that we don't want anything to go wrong. Anything can't go wrong. And so when we get into the event itself, we have this script, we have this whole plan that we want to stick to, and everything that throws it off throws us off. So we're being too rigid. How can we allow room so that we can actually experience the human life or the things that will be a little bit different and adapt when we are in the speaking situation? You see, the best speakers, they know how to, yes, they have a plan. I'm not saying don't have a plan. We have a plan, but also know how to adapt when things happen in the moment. You see, the biggest difference is most people tend to not want to adapt because they go, oh, I had this plan. I can't go off plan. I can't adapt. No, it's learning how to not be too rigid and how to adapt in the moment, okay? That's over-preparing. So usually at this time too, if you're not over-preparing, then what else might you do? You might be procrastinating. You're procrastinating because number one, you're thinking out of sight, out of mind, right? I don't have to think about this talk or what I have to say. And the more I don't deal with it, it's not going to be here. Exactly. You are right. When you're not dealing with it, it's not going to be here. But you're going to give yourself a kick in the butt later because holy crap, you have 2 days, 1 day, 1 hour left, and now you have to do it. Let me get down to this. What are you actually avoiding? You're avoiding the feeling of anxiety. You're avoiding the feeling of fear. You're avoiding the feeling of dread. And I know it doesn't feel good, but how can we spend more time facing our emotion and also asking why are we kind of like avoiding that emotion in any way, right? Whatever you resist will persist. But anyway, if you're procrastinating, one of the best things that you can do is, of course, spend more time on it. The more time that you have, the more the ideas will develop. What do you want at the end of the day? You want to create a better impact, right? So the more time that you spend on your talk, on what you have to say, over time, when you go to bed, subconsciously, you get more ideas that's built on what you just said. So most people, when they do it a day before, your ideas are not as fully developed as if you have started a week ago. So some people ask, Kit, how early do I need to start? That depends on how important this is for you, okay? If this is very, 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 very important, start as early as you can. If this is mostly you're so busy, I would say just start 2 weeks or 1 week out. Even for most people, 3 to 5 days early in advance, just to jot down your ideas. It's even better, okay? So most people do it this last minute. I'm gonna jot down the idea. I'm gonna put my PowerPoint together today, and I'm gonna practice the whole day we're just like, holy crap. And also, if you're procrastinating, it could be when you put your ideas down on paper, you feel like there's this pressure to make maybe the ideas good enough or something. But again, if you're someone that either over prepares or you procrastinate, really just take down some of the things that I'm saying and say, hey, why do I keep on doing this? How can I change? Because if you want to change your emotions, you have to start changing your actions and what you are doing right now. So see if you are someone that over prepares or you procrastinate, and start facing them. I gave a few tips on this section right now. Of course, there's a lot more. And if you have any questions, please drop them down in the comments below. But let's move on to stage number 3. Stage number 3, this is what I call the anxious buildup. This is when you're about to speak. You are in the speaking event, you are in the room, or if this is virtual, we're in the Zoom room, the meeting started, the presentation started. We didn't speak yet, but it's about to be our turn. Now, this is one of the moments where the peak, the anxiety goes the highest. Why is this? Because right now the moment is real. It's like it's happening right now. So most people are asking probably what you're thinking is, Kip, what the heck can I do to calm myself down when the nerves are going 100%, 150%? Okay. Number one is I want you to realize what's actually happening is that when we have this anxious buildup when we're about to speak, our body is really releasing the adrenaline. The adrenaline is going all over the place right now. So I want you to think about it this way. Imagine this is Black Friday and there's a mob of people. You're the manager of Best Buy, and there's a mob of people outside of Best Buy, and they want to come in. They want the best deals, but the doors are not open yet. And you see this mob. They just want their deals. They want their Black Friday deals. Now, as the manager of Best Buy, what do you want to do? You need to be able to organize this mob to maybe to a single file so that people can come in one by one instead of bombarding the whole place. This mob is like your anxiety. The mob already showed up. So if you're thinking right now, I need to get rid of the anxiety, I'm going to say you're not getting rid of anything. The mob is there already. The best thing that you can do right now when you already feel this anxiety and it's already there, the best thing for you to do is to regulate the crowd or the anxiety so that you let the anxiety drip in more slowly so you know how to control it and use it to your advantage. Again, on the blog, there's a link to the blog. I gave a lot of extra tips on here as well so you can read a little bit more in depth. But one of the best things that you can do is something called the 90-90 exercise. And let me tell you what it is. So there is a brain scientist. Her name is Dr. Jill Taylor. And she's also Time Magazine's 100 Most Influential People. And I say this all of the time. She says, your emotions only last for 90 seconds. Meaning the adrenaline, the cortisol, the hormones that get released in our bodies. It can take the emotion 90 seconds to release and dissipate from the body. Kind of like if you're watching Netflix, you can be happy, scared, sad throughout it. This is called a 90-90 exercise because in the first 90 seconds, when you're about to speak, you can do this like 2 minutes, 3 minutes in, it will still work. First 90 seconds, what you want to do is take account of what's actually happening. So instead of saying, I need to get rid of this anxiety, I want you to start thinking in the first 90 seconds, what's happening to my body right now? What am I thinking about right now? Consciously be aware of it instead of pushing it away. What am I thinking about right now? How's my body? Where's my body tensing up right now? So how can you acknowledge for the first 90 seconds exactly what is happening? And you can actually put a timer on your watch or on your phone and you can just do this, okay? And then the next 90 seconds, I want you to start thinking about what you want to think about. For example, I'm going to be going up on stage in the next 5 minutes. I'm going to stand taller. I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to be looking at the audience. I'm going to be smiling. I've prepared a lot for this. I got this. I have the information. I have X amount of years of experience. So the first 90 seconds, just be aware and take in what you're thinking, what you're feeling. The next 90 seconds, think about how you want to feel. Think about how you want to think. So it throws you into a different thinking cycle. So that's it. This is the 90-90 exercise. So when you're about to speak, you're going all hectic anyway. Set a time on your watch or on your phone. First 90 seconds. Take a breath, even though there's everything going around you. What's going on in my body? What am I thinking about? The next 90 seconds, what do you want to feel? What do you want to think about? Okay? So use this exercise. Stage 3, the anxiety buildup. It's about to speak. It spikes up a lot because we keep on having these negative thinking that over and over again, that something bad is going to be happening, or we're getting nervous again and we're like, holy crap. Now we're in this. My yoga teacher said, when you're stuck in your head, you're dead. And in that moment, we're usually stuck in our head. So this exercise, 90-90 exercise, will help you get out of your head. Okay, let's dive on in. We're in stage 4. This is the shaky start. This is when you start to speak, when you first open your mouth. Oh, the anxiety is high over here as well, because here are some things that people are probably thinking, oh man, I don't want my voice to tremble. Or maybe they notice the voice is trembling and we're like, oh my God, it's happening again. Maybe you don't want to blank out. The nerves are so high. You're like, oh my God, my face is turning red. I don't want people seeing me like this. And now we're just stuck in our heads over and over and over again. So the questions that you might be having on the top of your head is, Kit, I know all of this already. Just tell me what to do. Just tell me what I need to do to get rid of this. I don't want my voice to tremble. I don't want my mind to go blank. I don't want this to happen. Now, there's something that I have to tell you about, and this is the absolute truth about this. Most people, they come and say, Kit, make me so good that my voice will never tremble. Make me so good my mind will never go blank. Make me so good that I'll never be nervous. The thing is, because you never want these things to happen, whatever you resist will persist. And here's the thing, if you were so good, you would be okay letting your voice tremble. You would be okay letting your mind go blank. You would be okay letting people see you nervous. The thing is, most of us, we're not okay letting these things happen because we believe that if these things were to happen and if people were to see our voice trembling, if people were to see that we're having a panic attack, then everything will go down the hill. So the main question that what you need to address after working with so many countless people have tried breathing techniques, people have tried imagining the audience naked, people said, hey, just look at the person that you trust or the friend that you want to make an audience. All of these are one-off techniques that do not cure public speaking anxiety long term. If you want to cure public speaking anxiety long term, what you need to do is to address the beliefs behind the speaking anxiety. So when I say beliefs behind the speaking anxiety, I'm really asking us to question what is really causing our speaking anxiety in the first place. This is one of the biggest and best thing that you can do to solve public speaking anxiety long term. So here's some helpful strategies that you can use. Number one, you want to identify your beliefs causing my public speaking anxiety. So the question that you can ask is, when I have public speaking anxiety or in the past, what are some of my beliefs that contribute to me having public speaking anxiety? I'm just giving you some examples of these beliefs. Being seen as nervous is bad or weak. What I have to say is not important. Great leaders can't be nervous. Okay, these are just some beliefs. Do you see? Now, if we have these beliefs, every single time we get nervous, we're like, oh my God, I'm not a good speaker. I'm not a good speaker. Or another belief, like I said earlier, was being seen as nervous is bad or weak. And now you might be thinking, well, Kit, of course being seen as nervous is bad or weak. What I'm saying is that's something that you believe in, and it might not be the 100% truth. The longer that we believe in the certain things that we believe in, that's why we get stuck in this cycle. The purpose of what we're talking about now is, again, number one, identify the beliefs that we have. Number two is to challenge the beliefs that you have. How do you challenge the beliefs that you have? You question it. How did I come to this conclusion about the way I'm believing things? Who told me this? What experiences has shown me this? Is this absolutely true for everyone in the world, or is it just me? After you challenge your beliefs, then you go to reframing your beliefs. How else can I take a look at this? One of the most confident people that I know, how would they think about this situation? My best friend, or the people that I respect, how would they think about it? The people that I listen to on YouTube, what would they say about this? Okay, so let's take being seen as nervous is bad or weak. How would your favorite YouTubers, your favorite influencers, your favorite boss, your favorite colleagues respond to that? Will everyone say yes? Or will some of them say, no, being seen as nervous is not bad or weak? Now, that's what you need to tap into. Now you must be thinking, why the heck do they not think that being seen as nervous is bad or weak? And because they don't think that way, therefore, that belief doesn't attach to them. I hope this is making sense, okay? So stage 4, the shaky start, when you start to speak, what you need to do is to address the beliefs, because this is the one that will take care of it long term for you. Stage 5 is after the intro, and there's actually 2 versions of this. You see, what I've noticed is that after the intro, after you start speaking for like a minute or 2 minutes, version 1, I've noticed that most people, their anxiety drops because they say, I got into the flow now, this is good. And I'm not gonna pick too much about this because when you're in the flow, you're like, okay, I'm good, I don't need help on that. Now, version number 2 is what I call the plateau. So some people, when they finish the intro 1 minute or 2 minute in, their anxiety is still going all over the place. It's high, it's low, it's high and low. So despite the shaky start, the intro, it feels like you're still not building that connection that you need with the audience. The transitions are off. There's some awkward pauses. Something is just not right, and you don't know how to basically elevate your performance. So this is what's actually happening, is that we tend to still overthink about what's happening. Maybe it's the words that we use. There's something stupid. I forgot something. It's the same thing over and over. We start to overthink, and now we are in our heads a lot. Now in sports, there's something called yips. So basically, yips are when athletes, when they play golf, when they play baseball, they can't do it anymore. They can't hit the ball as good as they used to. That's something that happened to the motor functions. That's because when they're having yips, they're overthinking, and because they're overthinking, the body mechanics doesn't do the thing it was supposed to do. Even though these athletes, have the skills, they have the repetitions, but when they start to overthink and they overanalyze, the body is they're not playing in the right thing. Okay, so this is what's actually happening to us when we are in our speaking situations. When we overthink, think of it as we're having our speaking yips. And we're overthinking, and therefore our word sounds like we're talking like children, or we're not making any sense, or we're just forgetting something, or we're blanking out because we're overthinking. And one of my favorite speakers said this, and he said, when you're playing a game of basketball, and this is a championship playoff, don't think about how you're dribbling. Be in there and play the game. Because when you're overthinking about how you're dribbling, now you're going to make all the mess ups. You can do all of that in practice, but when you're in the game, playing the game. This is the same thing when you were in your speaking situation. Don't think about what you're doing exactly with your hands. Don't think about exactly what you're saying, all the words. We're not in the present moment with our audience. Get in the present moment in the audience. So there's a technique that I want to show you. It's very easy to do, and it's going to sound far-fetched, but the technique is to grip your left hand, okay? Not your right hand. Grip your left hand in the fist, and then you'll snap back into reality. Let me show you why this works and the science behind this. So there was a research done, and I actually told my wife about this, and I'll tell you what my wife said to me later. So basically, when you grip your left hand, it activates the right hemisphere of your brain. Now, the right hemisphere of your brain is responsible for more of your creativity, for more of your flow, being in it. The left part of your brain, the left hemisphere, that is the part that people, it's the analyzing, the overthinking side of the brain. And what they noticed is that when people were having these yips, or when people overthink, their left hemisphere would light up more, less of the right hemisphere. There was a study where they told baseball players to grip the ball with the left hand versus the right hand. And when they gripped the ball with the left hand more, the right hemisphere lighted more, and they got right back into reality, and they stopped overthinking. So I told my wife this because I'm like, hey, go try this out. One time she was staring off into space, and she likes to sometimes look at a dot and look at it. And she said, Kit, I tried this left hand thing, and she snapped her back into reality. So the next time that you're overthinking, squeeze your left fist and imagine your right hemisphere of your brain activating. Try it out and let me know in the comments how it goes for you. Okay, we're in stage 6, and this is the speaking turbulence. And what do I mean by speaking turbulence? I'm talking about the bumps along the road. Someone is making a face. It could be the same things you were worried about earlier. Maybe you blanked out, you forgot to say something, you said something that didn't really match what you were talking about. Someone's looking on the phone, etc. So number 1 is we have these things that they happen along the way, and it throws us off, because now when we get anxious, when we get nervous, what usually happens when anyone has anxiety, usually our focus gets narrow-minded, and we start thinking smaller about the particular situation that's making us anxious. So instead of thinking bigger, we narrow right down to it. So one thing that you can do is, in the moment, realize, oh man, I'm nitpicking right at this exact thing. How can I think a little bit bigger? Okay, so in the moment, you can think about it this way. If someone is making a face, maybe that person is making a face because they have to go to the bathroom. What other possibilities are there of what's happening? Or that person yawned. Or that person's yawning because they're tired. It doesn't have to do with how boring that I am. Okay, so number 1 is start noticing when we have anxiety, everything gets narrow-minded. What you want to do is shift that and make it more broad-minded. And now if you're thinking, Kit, how the heck can I be thinking about all of this when I'm speaking in the moment. What I am saying for you to do right now, I'm going to give you a few questions, okay? When you're watching this video, when you're more clear-minded, that's when you start reflecting and think about it. Okay, so number one, answer this question. What are the speaking turbulence that you have had in the past? So in the past speaking experience, what were some of the things that were throwing you off? Question number two, why was it throwing me off? Question number three, if I were to think a little bit bigger about that situation, how can I think more broadly about that situation? What are other perspectives I can have, okay? If I'm narrow-minded, how can I look at it from a 300,000 view, and what kind of answers might I have then, okay? So number one is, what are my speaking turbulences that I've had in the past? Why does it really bug me? And number three, how can I look at it from a broader view, okay? Go get started and answer these questions. Stage number 7, the Q&A. Usually there's two versions of this. Version number 1, I call it the easy peasy conversation. Sometimes when people get into a Q&A, they're like, oh man, this is turning into a conversation. This is great. I love it. And there's no problem. Now, version number 2 is the response roadblock. This is what happens. It's like, oh my God, it's the Q&A period. Someone's going to ask me a question I don't know the answer to. Something's going to happen that I haven't prepared for. And so let's address that version a little bit more. We have this roadblock because we're thinking, oh man, if someone really asks me a question, I don't really know how to answer that. What the heck can I do? So why does this bug us, first of all? This bugs us because it feels like, number one, we don't have control over the situation. And we don't know what to expect. It's unexpected. It's the uncertainty that creates our anxiety. And of course, what creates that anxiety a lot more? Well, having a question that we don't know the answer to. So how can you prepare for having an answer? Let me say this again. How can you prepare for those situations so that when you don't have a question to an answer, what can you say? It's as simple as that. Now, you might be thinking, well, Kit, I can just say, excuse me, I don't have the answer to that, but let me get back to you. Okay? So actually, that's one thing that you can say, but now you might be thinking, oh, Kit, I know that already, but I don't want to say that. Because if I say that, then that means I'm not the expert they think I am. I'm not the leader that they think I am. They're going to think like I'm someone that I don't know anything. This now goes back to, remember when we talked about addressing your beliefs earlier? This is a belief that you might have. Not having an answer to a question means that you are not on top of it, you're not doing your job correctly, you're not the expert, you're not a leader. Because one is, literally, a person can say, excuse me, that's a great question. I really don't have the answer to that, but let me get back to you, okay? So a few things here. Number one is address the beliefs that you have around that. Number two is have a go-to phrase that you can use. I just gave you one right now, okay? You can say, excuse me, I really don't have the answer to that. That's a great question, but let me get back to you. I haven't heard that one before. Let me get back to you. And make sure you get back to them. Another homework for you to do right now, or you can drop it into the comments. Other than that phrase, what else do you think you can say when you get asked a question and you don't know the answer to? I would love to see some creativity. Drop them down in the comments below. What is your go-to phrase when you don't have an answer to a question? Okay, this is stage 8. And stage 8 is the finish line. You're done speaking. Now, most of the time when people are done speaking, they're like, whoop, man, I'm just done speaking. I don't want to think about it anymore. I'm going to go to my other thing in life. I don't even want to deal with it anymore. Well, that's the flaw, because you never want to think about it anymore. Then you never get better. Or if you're one of those people that you don't want to think about it, I hear you, but there's also another type of people. You're overanalyzing everything you just did wrong. Now, if that's you, what's happening? Now you're thinking, holy crap, why didn't I say that better? I could have done that. I could have done this. Either you're type 1 or type 2. I want to give you something that you can do. I want you to write on paper a basic survey that you can question yourself over and over. Because here's the thing, how do we know we're actually progressing as a speaker? Most of us, we just either overthink it in our mind or we never think about it at all. So I'm going to give you a list of questions that you can answer every single time after a speaking event to reflect and actually have it on paper so it's just not all in your head. Number one is answer this question for your survey or for your journal. What speaking event is this? I'll give a description about what the speaking event is. Question number 2 is, if I were to rate myself from a 1 to a 10 being the very best as a speaker, what number would I give myself and why did I give myself this number? Now, why is this question so important? Is because the more that you take these surveys or questions over time in your speaking career, you can look back and say, wow, I gave myself a 6 there. Oh, but yeah, 3 months later, I'm giving myself an 8. So you're actually tracking your progress with the number. Okay, question number 3 is, what made me proud in this speaking situation? The next question is, what can I improve on? And then the last question is, what are my next steps? So rewind this video, get all the questions down. It's as easy peasy as that. That's it. We have the 8 stages of public speaking anxiety. There was a lot of information that I gave you here. Again, there is a blog, an article that I go a little bit more in depth about all the 8 stages. Go click and read more. But I hope that you liked and enjoyed this video. Leave in the comments below, what was one of your favorite tips? Or what are the stages that you have when it comes to public speaking anxiety for you? Again, my name is Kit Pang, and I will see you all later.